Thursday, November 21st, the year 2019, they rented a house of Inspector Sabina Kirubo in Nyabeda village. The deputy OCS Ugunja police station was a crime scene. This was after the body of star journalist based in Siaya County, Eric Olo, was found in a house. At the time of his death, the two were cohabiting. In this episode of Kondele Headlines, dubbed Killing of a Journalist, we revisit the crime scene and shed light on the findings. To support our work, kindly subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell for more. The WhatsApp group for Siaya journalists was bombarded with the sad news of the demise of their colleague Eric Olo the morning of Thursday, November 21st, 2019. It was one of those mornings that the corona pandemic was boiling up slowly from Wuhan city of China. The WhatsApp message by one of the colleagues read, "Guys, something bad has happened to our colleague Eric Olo in Ugunja. His lifeless body was found inside the house of his girlfriend, Inspector Sabina." By the time journalists reached Ugunja, Eric Olo's body was already at Ambira Sub-County mortuary. A journalist, a father, a son and a husband was dead on the cold floor of the mortuary. After investigations were carried out by the police from Ugunja police station, 3 main suspects were arrested. They were Inspector Sabina Kirubo, based on the fact that the body of the deceased journalist was found at her residence in Nyabeda village, Ugunja town. Victor Ogola Luta and his brother Joel Ogola Luta, also known as Daddy. Despite being a suspect, Inspector Kirubo was not charged with murder. Instead, she was turned into a state witness. In the charge sheets, the two brothers, Joel Luta and Victor Luta, were listed as first and second accused, respectively. The case began and subsequently prosecution had 9 witnesses against the 2 accused. The first witness was a house help who appeared before Lady Justice Rosalie Naburili of the Siaya High Court. In her testimony, she stated that on the night of 21st November 2019, at 6 p.m., Inspector Kirubo left. In her testimony, she stated that on the night of 21st November 2019, at 6 p.m., Inspector Kirubo left the house in company of her 2-year-old son and Victor Ogola Luta. Inspector Kirubo left Eric Olo in the bedroom. It was in her testimony that Victor Ogola visited Madam Kirubo several times. She testified that at around 8 p.m., Inspector Kirubo returned to the house together with a child, with Joel Luta and Victor Luta. She also testified that Joel Ogola Luta regularly visited the house of Inspector Kirubo. Upon reaching the house, Joel Luta then entered Inspector Kirubo's bedroom, ordered the late journalist Olo to get out, and after that, he descended on him and began beating him. The house help also testified that Joel pushed the deceased outside and continued beating him. The house help also told court that Victor came out of the house, lifted Olo and returned him to the house where he warmed water and cleaned his face and head, which were bleeding. It was her testimony that at that time, Inspector Kirubo was drunk, and she told Olo and Victor to leave her house as they were making it dirty with the blood. The house help also testified that Olo and Victor left the house for about 30 minutes. Then Victor returned asking her to open the door, which she refused. She also told the court that when she returned to the bedroom, she heard Victor getting into the house from the front door, and shortly thereafter, she also heard Olo walking within the house. The house help also mentioned that the late journalist then entered the bedroom where Inspector Kirubo was, whereas Victor stayed in the sitting room. It was also in her testimony that at around midnight, she was woken up by some commotion emanating from Inspector Kirubo's bedroom, and upon peeping, she saw the journalist on the floor stretching while Inspector Kirubo was on a bed still drunk and sleeping. She stated that Olo was bleeding profusely, upon which Victor forced his way into the bedroom, attempted to wake Inspector Kirubo up but failed. He resorted to comforting and relaxing Olo. She also told the court that Victor slept near Olo with the aim of assisting him in case there was any problem that night. She testified that the following morning at around 6 a.m., Victor, while appearing worried, informed her that it appeared that the journalist had already passed on. She also testified that Victor was afraid of informing Inspector Kerubo, but she insisted that he had to inform her, after which the inspector sought assistance from a neighbor who informed her to report the matter to the police first. She also stated that Inspector Kerubo and the landlord subsequently reported the matter to Ugunja police station, returned in a Land Cruiser where the body was placed and taken to the mortuary. The testimony of the house help was corroborated by that of Inspector Kerubo's daughter, who was also a witness. On her part, Inspector Kerubo, who was a state witness, said that on that particular day, 21st of November 2019, she was at her rental house in Nyabeda village within Ugunja sub-county. And at around 9 p.m., she was drunk. She had Eric Olo, who was her boyfriend for 2 years, quarreling with someone else. She testified that she told him to leave the house and go and quarrel outside. It was also indicated in her testimony that she used to live with the house help, her daughter, her son, and Eric Olo. Her testimony that Victor, who was her chef, was in the house on that material day. She also noted that Victor would normally sleep in the sitting room on occasions when he trained heavily. Inspector told the court that she woke up in the morning at around 4 a.m. and found Olo lying on the floor with a pillow on his head. She stated that she went to the toilet, and on her return she realized that he was not talking and his movement was low. She stated that she switched off lights and slept until 6 a.m. when she woke up and realized that Olo was still lying on the floor. It was also in her testimony that she woke him up but was not responding. So he went and told the landlord that she had a sick person and needed help to take him to the hospital. Inspector Kerubo also indicated that they tried, together with the landlord, to put Eric Olo inside the landlord's vehicle, but he could not fit, so they returned him to the bedroom. So then he ran to Ugunja to get a taxi, but upon the return, she found many people at the scene, and further that Olo's body had been placed on a vehicle of the DCIO Ugunja, prompting her to follow the vehicle carrying the body. She testified that they went to OCS, who told them to go to the police station where they recorded her statements. She also mentioned in her testimony that she had known Joel Luther for about 6 months after being introduced to him by Victor, his younger brother. She testified that on the material night, Joel was at her house. A doctor who conducted postmortem told the court that Olo died of severe head injury following a blunt head trauma. Alongside that, there was hemorrhage shock following severe intra-abdominal bleeding from ruptured spleen. Based on the testimonies and pieces of evidence found before court, Justice Roselyn Aburili ruled, and I quote, "I am satisfied that the prosecution has proved that killing of the deceased was by the first accused person, Joel Ogola Luther, also known as Daddy, that the said killing was unlawful and that it was with malice aforethought. The manner in which the first accused sought out the deceased and proceeded to attack him and injuring him on the head and the face and abdomen, in my humble view, connote malice aforethought. The first accused knew or ought to have known that such a vicious attack on a human being who was even drunk and defenseless would occasion him grievous harm or even death. It is in my finding that the malice aforethought has been proven against the first accused person beyond reasonable doubt." End of quote. She further read, and I quote, "I find and hold that the prosecution has proved the charge of murder contrary to Section 203 as read with Section 204 of the Penal Code as against the first accused person, Joel Ogola Luther, alias Daddy. Beyond reasonable doubt, I find Joel Ogola Luther guilty of the offense of murder as charged and convict him accordingly." End of quote. Victor Luther, on the other hand, was acquitted as his case was not proven beyond reasonable doubt. At the time Lady Justice Roselyn Aburili was delivering judgment 4 months earlier, the body of Inspector Kerubo had been found inside a house at Komarok in Machakos County. She had been transferred back to the headquarters. The police visited her house at Komarok, where the body was lying. The body was taken and investigations were conducted. Whatever killed Inspector Sabina Kerubo is a story for another day. This is KONDELE News Headlines. Like our videos, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.